You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. Our fifth season continues here. We're up to episode 14, which every week we set a new record for how many shows we cram into a season. But we're happy to do so. Love to talk about the Bulldogs weekly, and I could not do it without my partner, Justin Raffoff.
Well, that's kind of you, but I don't know if it's true. But I appreciate the sentiment. Anyway. So yeah, it's good to be back here. It's crazy. It certainly felt like October football on Friday night.
Yeah. It felt amazing.
Oh, yeah. That was not a complaint.
Great. Yes.
It was awesome. This was
wonderful.
A great football weather weekend. I know weather here today wasn't necessarily ideal, but
yeah, I mean, you can do without the mist and the overcast.
Right. It was good weather on Friday night. It was cool, but like
a little breezy.
You can start to expect that. Saturday was a beautiful football Saturday too. So yeah, I like the weather. I like the outcome from Friday. That was fun. And
it was all around a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, it was good.
It's probably maybe the only time this year I can't say the Dolphins lost.
Hey, so this is as close to the perfect weekend as you're going to get.
This is as close to the perfect weekend as I'll get because
we talk about those.
Wilson wins Friday, wins big, looks dominating. Saturday, Penn State, for the most part, pretty well all around. High expectations now that they moved to the top 10, and they got
the spread.
Tough schedule upcoming here over the rest of October. But hey, a 28-point win, I'm going to take that.
28-point win and 10 sacks.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. I won in one of my fantasy leagues, the one that we coached together, pending. But there's still a possibility. We can't let Mahomes be Mahomes. So.
So yeah, don't know if I want to bet on that.
It's going to be rough. So it may not be a perfect weekend, but the Dolphins didn't lose. They couldn't lose. They didn't win either. But hey, baby steps.
But as a Dolphins fan, you'll take what
I'll take right. Exactly. So, well, enough of pro and college. Let's talk high school football. And the Bulldogs, believe it or not, 7 games done now. We're 7 games into the season.
That's crazy.
Hey, maybe only halfway. So, depending on how you want to look at it. Yes. And I know the players for sure, absolutely, Nate Keller will tell me that, why wouldn't we only be halfway? Maybe we're not even halfway.
You never know. Maybe we won't be halfway till the next week.
I talked about, approaching my 100th game, documenting it, photographing it, tweeting about it at the end of last season, like before the playoffs started. I was like, I'm at 96, it probably means sometimes during the Wilson 75th season, I'll hit 100, which I did in week 3. But he was like, why can't you hit that this year?
Yeah, way to be negative.
And, well, I wasn't being negative. I was being pragmatic, but he called me out, and I was like, all right, I'll take it. But hey, I'll throw one out there right now. Make this be only halfway through your season. That's the challenge. Week 7 should only be halfway, because then the season went well.
Yeah. I think some of the things will come up later in the show, but yeah, like I hope we have a lot of games left. So but like you said, it is hard to believe that we are through 7 regular season games already. Like that's really hard to believe.
But a big one coming up this Friday at Gurski. Wilson hosts Warwick, and we'll look to solidify their spot in the power ratings, heading towards the 6A playoffs, which will be starting in less than a month, really. A few days, under a month
4
now,
weeks.
Will be the playoffs, the start of the playoffs. And we're going to get into the power ratings here in a moment because I've got an email that apparently he's good with math, and he lays something on the line that maybe people should know about. So,
okay,
but
maybe people should also include me because
you don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's even better.
Surprise.
So let's do some housekeeping though, and just get our Bulldog Hour stuff out of the way and just thank our show sponsors again, May's Sandwich Shop, Topher's 10th and Elm Cafe, our 2 anonymous donors, and Mr. Andy Herr from EasternPAFootball.com. They help us out financially so that they can take a little bit of the burden off of me and paying for all this stuff that I use.
Yeah, to just help things go smoothly.
And unfortunately, we'll put it out there right now so no one thinks we forgot about it. Despite the win, we did not get any interviews. It wasn't by design. We had wanted to talk to our player of the game, which a little sizzle. I'm not going to give that away.
Yeah.
And Coach Doms, which we're also going to talk about him in a little bit. But the Hempfield band wanted to go on the field like immediately and started playing, and we didn't want that noise in the background, and we didn't want to be disturbing them with our presence.
It was also cool, and the players also have to trek back to the locker rooms, which are not close to the field. So, a lot of circumstances there. All kind of
we wanted to keep things moving, so we will try to tackle that after the next Wilson victory, and that will definitely be a time to talk with Coach Doms and hopefully a couple players as well. So if you're interested in ways to help, the sponsorship and advertising is a route you can take. Or also the in-kind donations like our anonymous donors do for us. The website, again, a lot of stuff is always posted there. Please check it out. Not just Bulldog Hour related, but Wilson football in general. You can buy tickets to the alumni game and the reception, which is happening this Saturday, believe it or not, which I've been working on it for a long time, and it's both good and terrifying that is this weekend. But then
it's only 6 days away.
The last way you can help is Justin's favorite, spreading the word.
Like and share. Yeah. Sorry.
Just don't be Justin.
Yeah,
don't be Justin.
That helps, right? Like not being me helps. So.
Our next live show, it's a week from now, and that'll be episode 15 of the Bulldog Hour's 5th season, and we'll be recapping the game against...
In case you didn't have anything else going on.
We'll be recapping the game against Warwick, which was also the Tradition Club's title teams event, the reunions. We'll be talking about that shortly as well. And then, again, Saturday, the alumni game. Oh, and we'll also be previewing Game 9, which will be at Cedar Crest, which is another team that is a little surprising this year and in a good way for them. So a lot coming down the pike over the next week, and we hope you will tune in a week from now to hear us talk all about it. All right, and again, the schedule as it sits, we are down there at the bottom of column 2. October 11th against Warwick this Friday. We're recapping the game from this past Friday tonight, and about to say bye-bye to the second column. But again, this is a big week and weekend coming up for us. 75th season celebration weekend, game against Warwick. Wilson Football Tradition Club title teams reunions. We're honoring the 1969, 1979, 1989, 1999, and 2009 championship teams this Friday. And then Saturday the 12th, 6 o'clock kickoff for the alumni flag football game, also presented by the Wilson Football Tradition Club. We have 55 former players and coaches returning for that to participate in the event. 17 of the players are former team captains. Wow. So a lot of key returners, some big names coming back. I just met a few Friday at the Warwick game. Got to meet them for the first time. Got to meet in person Al Motes. He'll be playing. He's from fall 1971. And a guy who wasn't able to get the schedule to work out, but I got to meet, and happy I did because he's someone during my research that I've heard a lot of, running back Pete Schreck. So I got to meet him, which is part of those great teams from the very late 70s and very early 80s. So it was a lot of fun to meet those gentlemen. I look forward to seeing a lot more coming back this weekend as well. So I said it, I'm going to throw it up on the screen in case you're watching. Big time, be there at Gurski Friday and Saturday. Turn out to support this year's team and teams from the past, the program in general. The flag football game is a fundraiser. I know some people, I think, are disappointed that you have to buy tickets, but that's generally how a fundraiser works. Yeah. In order to raise funds, someone must pay some money for it. They are not, contrary to whoever was telling Susie Olson, $100.
No.
I don't know where that came from. They are currently on sale for $3 or $4. You can get physical copies at May's Sandwich Shop, physical tickets, or you can buy them online at bulldoghour.com/tickets. So get your tickets now, or you end up paying $6 at the gate. So you can get in Saturday if you wait until then, but we're giving you the opportunity to save some money right now. So try to get those beforehand. And there will also be an evening reception Saturday. Anyone that wants to reminisce about Wilson football over the last 75 years, it's at PJ's. Again, you need to buy tickets for that as well. They're sold at the same place that I just said, May's Sandwich Shop, and on the Bulldog Hour website. There will be limited availability at the door, so please buy early. All right, so that's the big thing. Please come out, support the team and the program this weekend, Friday and Saturday. Very, very, very important. So, all right. Should we try the highlights first? Should we mix it up a little bit this week and go with some highlights?
Why don't we do the highlights?
Again, first? I didn't get to do these. This is the game recap that Huddle does. I think it's from the Wilson film, though, so it should be pretty populated with some big plays. Okay. So let's pull that up and get to that right now. Again, Wilson was at Hempfield Friday night, and it did start out a little slow after the first series for each team, but then Wilson was like, nope, not going to be like Penn Manor from 2 weeks ago, and Mason Leonard made sure of that. Bulldogs, I believe it was the second series, he races down the sideline, outruns all of the Hempfield defenders, gets into the end zone to put Wilson up 7-0, and it would be all Wilson the entire night until very late in the game. It was a pretty thorough performance. Wilson was very good on the running game. That was an incredible fake by quarterback Caleb Brown. And, got down to the one. Avante Lockhart is going to finish. Oh, no, apparently they're not going to show that. Avante finished that to put Wilson up. I think they also missed his other 1-yard touchdown to put him up 21-0. Then Eli gets the team on the board here. This is the early second quarter, 28-0. And now you're going to see the touchdown to Matt Fry, which invoked the mercy rule in the early third quarter, put Wilson up 35-0.
Nice to see Matt get back into other things there. So.
Yep. So it was a pretty dominating performance. The ground game got things going. It was never in doubt, really, other than the opening series that they, wasn't.
This is the one where.
They had 2 fumble recoveries in the second half, including one here. I believe this is Savion's going to end up picking this one up.
This is the one I thought we were just watching.
Yeah. It's going to kind of sit on the ground for, it felt like forever watching the game. I was like, the ball is on the ground. Please, someone pick it up.
Yeah.
And eventually he does. And here he comes. There he is. Pick it up and go.
Perfect example of one where
head on a swivel.
Right. I was watching through the screen, so it's really hard to see exactly what's happening, and I'm really glad I didn't hit the button to stop that. But yeah, it was fun to see everyone really happy for Savion when he got back on the sideline and everything. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then Eamon Kenny getting work at wide receiver there. Yeah. But there's your final score. It's 42-7. Nick Williams would punctuate that. The backup quarterback, the senior, would get a score to get Wilson to 42. Unfortunately, Hempfield will return the next kickoff for their only score on the night. So the offense didn't score at all for Hempfield, which is, that's pretty good. That's a good thing. Yeah, it's probably a positive. Probably a good thing to be able to talk about on the show. So, yeah, it was a good performance. Defense looked great. Offense looked good. Special teams for the most part. And the kickoff return was against either the second team or your JV unit. So, sometimes that happens. I'm sure the starters, the varsity, the seniors, not happy about that. It denies them the right to pizza during defensive films this week because it's a team effort. And if the team doesn't get a shutout, it doesn't matter. So trust me, been on the receiving end. Both, whoops, that was my bad. And also, why did you guys not keep them out of the end zone? So been there, done that. It happens. So, yeah. But, you want to run through some stats from the victory? All right. Get some stats here, and then we'll get to our play of the game.
That was a pretty dominant effort. It was good to see. Like you said, the first series wasn't, they didn't really have it clicking yet. But honestly, after that, they got things going pretty well. It missed on a few things here and there, but again, all in all, it was something to be pretty pleased about coming in, throughout the first half, and then come out in the second half and handle your business. And the younger guys came in there and held their own, and that's what you want to see. So it was good. It was a good all around effort, I thought, and just solid performance and way to get back onto that right side of the outcome.
Absolutely.
So it was good. I have to laugh at that picture, that one you just put up.
The one of Mason?
The one on the scoreboard.
Oh, the scoreboard?
Yum concessions.
Yum concessions. Yeah, I know. I like that too. It's
so
good.
Bright. Sorry.
Good stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. So a few of my pictures from Friday night. I got Mason's first touchdown. I like this one. Eli just about to cross the goal line, but I like Brady jumping, celebrating in the background. Yeah. That's a lot of fun. Again, 28-0. Got to see a big halftime lead. Then Matt Fry's touchdown here. So not only did the video, I don't know how they generate those game recaps. Yeah. Because you would think anything marked touchdown would trigger it. Yeah. But coincidentally, we didn't have the video of Avante's 2 touchdowns, and I didn't get photos of them either. They were all up the middle, and there's a pile of people, and I didn't have pictures of them. And I hate that because I like to always have a picture of every touchdown scored, and I have just like a pile of people. It's nothing. It's awful. And here's Nick's touchdown that I talked about at the end of the game. It was 35-0 at the time with 3:41 left in the game. Looked like it was going to be a 42-0 final. And then, unfortunately, it was 42-7. What are you going to do?
You know what?
That happens sometimes. It happens. But all right. So individual statistics, team statistics overall, a very good game for the Bulldogs. Wilson had 18 first downs to Hempfield 6, so tripled them up there. Most of it was done on the ground, which would make past Wilson teams very happy about that. 340-yard net rushing for the Bulldogs, and Hempfield had just 44. I believe at halftime they had a negative rushing yards.
Wow.
So very similar to what Penn State did to Purdue. Negative 19 rushing yards net for the game. Wilson, the starting D, held their own against the Hempfield offense in the trenches for sure. Passing, not much better for Hempfield, only 49 total. Wilson had 114. So total offense, 454 for the Bulldogs, just 93 for Hempfield.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so... Yeah, not too much to complain about that, although I'm sure the coaches will find something.
Oh yeah, there are definitely things you can clean up and continue to work on. But like I said, they went out and they handled their business, and that's exactly what you would want in this situation.
Yeah. Crazy enough, after the first 5 weeks of Wilson's special teams looking really good, last week it wasn't that they were bad, it's that they didn't really have any opportunities, and that was part of the township game plan, and kudos to them for that. But same thing this week, the special teams didn't bust out, and albeit the backups or JV surrendered one, but nothing could get going on punt returns, kickoff returns. Right. Everyone was held in check.
I think one went into the end zone.
Right. There were touchbacks.
And they only had 2, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, generally you don't want to be returning kicks because it means
if you're only returning 1 or 2 kickoffs a game, that's ideal.
Yep, that's pretty good.
One's ideal. One's perfect.
1 is the best number to have for kickoff returns. Yeah. So not that special teams were bad, it's just they weren't as relevant this week or last week as they had been earlier in the season. So it'd be nice to see that jump back in our favor this week.
Hey, this week would be a great time for that to come up. So
third downs, Wilson was 4 of 9. Okay, but Hempfield only 2 of 11. Both teams failed to convert on fourth down once, but huge one for the Bulldogs. 5 of 5 in the red zone.
That's huge. And when you get down there, you got to convert your chances.
Hempfield was never in Wilson's red zone all game long. So also positive there.
Yeah.
If a team's not inside the 20, the odds of them scoring in high school, not great.
Although if you only gain 93 yards across the whole game, it's going to be tough to get down inside the 20.
I mean, we've talked about it in this past. It's when every year that I see Hempfield, I always think they're going to be stronger than they end up being. And they had very big kids.
Every year when you're there and you watch some of the size of some of their kids that run out, you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Every year.
And I know in the 80s and 90s, especially the late 80s or early to mid 90s, Hempfield was the team. Hempfield and McCaskey were like the 2 big teams that gave Wilson trouble. If they weren't winning the league, it was usually one of those other teams was winning it. And it's been a rough go of it for Hempfield over the last 10, 12 years. not that they've been bad, like they're not going 2-8 every year or anything like that, but they're the middle of the pack, third or fourth instead of up there challenging for the top spot. So
there's been a few years where they've had those teams that, given the right year, may have had more success, but between Wilson and Township the last few years, or Penn Manor a few of the years before, it just, and now Warwick, and their surge, like it just has become, the timing never matched up for them to really time their runs, and their runs haven't necessarily panned out the way they thought they would. So
right. So before we do the individual stats, why don't we do our player of the game, because it'll kind of present itself here.
Yeah,
as we talk about individual statistics, and I don't think it's too hard to figure out where it's going to go. So let's just throw it out there now. And our player of the game is junior running back and cornerback Mason Leonard for his great running performance Friday night. We've seen him. We know what he's able to do. It's just he didn't usually have a lot of opportunities. He was making them count, because he'd be getting like 3 to 5 carries here and there, and usually he'd bust 1 or sometimes 2 for a nice big touchdown. Yeah. But the majority of the time, Avanti was getting the ball, and Mason was kind of a change of the pace or a diversion, and it's paid off. But this week he was able to log double-digit touches, 11 of them for 183 yards, including that long 74-yard touchdown that kind of started the onslaught of the Wilson offense. And he had another catch for 6 yards. He also played cornerback and had an assisted tackle for loss. And all around, his 11 for 183 and a touchdown, that's an incredible game in and of itself. Yeah. But if you were there watching, he was not going down. He was running like he was Avanti. Yeah. And there was this one play that he actually had to leave after it because he had gotten beat up so much that he was bleeding. There was 4 or 5 Hempfield defenders on him, and he was still pumping those legs and just dragging them. Yeah. And we all know Mason, he's not a tall guy. He's not a big player. But he was certainly playing big Friday night. Right, and he's strong and had that fire, and that's goes a long way. So, it was fun to watch him, get a lot of touches. It wasn't a crazy amount, but the game kind of played into that a lot too. But he certainly has been making them count. He certainly made it count. And it could have been even worse. Or Friday night. Worse for Hempfield, better for Wilson. But he had a touchdown call back, which is captured there in the diving photo. I had to use it, even though it didn't count, because I really liked it. But there were a couple other options. I got a few good ones of Mason on Friday night. There was a beautiful sunset, and I tried to get some photos on. Like you said at the beginning, what a beautiful night for football. It felt like football, a little chilly, but clear, little windy, but top there, clear. The moon was out after the brilliant sunset, and it was pretty much nothing to complain about from Friday night. No. All great stuff. So congratulations to the Bulldogs, and specifically Mason Leonard for his play against Hempfield. He is our Bulldog Hour player of the game for week number 7, which gets the Bulldogs to 6-1. And we heard about Mason. What about some of the other guys? Avanti had 9 carries, 20 yards, but he did have the 2 touchdowns, the short ones, about yard and a half. Nick Williams the backup quarterback had 3 carries, 41 yards, and the touchdown that we saw. Mason's little brother, Gavin, had 6 for 38 yards, and Caleb Brown, 4 for 33, and we saw that nice little juke and fake move that produced a long of 30 for him. Caleb was 7 of 15 passing for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception late in the first half, but again, another solid performance from Caleb. Almost getting to the century mark passing, but the 2 touchdowns are the big ones. One of which went to Matt Fry, who is the leading receivers in receptions, 3 for 29 yards. I talked about Eamon Kenny getting 2 for 18, and then Brady Gibble has what tends to be a weekly occurrence, at least 1 big reception. He had one against Hempfield for 44 yards, and then we saw Eli's single reception, his lone reception, made it count, though, for 10 yards, and the score. Defensively, the standout defensively for Wilson was, let me get my stats here so I don't say the wrong person. Tackles wise, it was Adrian Santana, and he was blowing up the Hempfield backfield all night long.
It might have been their first play. I'm not exactly sure. I believe it was early on, but he just played it perfectly. They tried to run outside.
It was outside stuff, yeah.
The Hempfield bleachers, so away from our sideline. He just played it perfectly, kept going, strung it out, and then cleaned up. Like it was a great play, and that kind of like set the tone for at least for him defensively. Yep. Like that was there all night, so that was a good job.
Yeah, playing some linebacker, some rush end, and like I said, he only had the 1 sack, but he had 3 tackles for loss. He was playing the edge really well, blowing up whatever Hempfield wanted to do in the backfield, whether it was the running back or the quarterback. So 5 total tackles from him. Alex Gibble from a safety spot had 4, as did Anthony Coper from his linebacker spot. One of them was also a half of a sack. Jaden Jones, the sophomore linebacker, also had a half sack. We saw Ethan Capitano, the junior defensive end, with a sack, and Nate Keller and Adam Venino combined for 1 together as well. So, it was a good time when you get 4 sacks and a whole bunch of tackles for losses. I think the Bulldogs had 8 or 9 tackles for losses. They were controlling the trenches. That line of scrimmage was all Wilson all night long, offense and defense, and the score kind of reflects that. If you control that, if you're winning those battles, good things are going to happen, and 42-7 pretty much says it.
Yeah, absolutely. Any way you kind of split the numbers here, it's going to point to a dominant Wilson performance, and that's exactly what we saw on Friday night.
All right, so we're moving along here pretty quickly, but we do want to preview the Warwick game. It's a big one coming up this Friday night. I mentioned all like kind of the peripheral stuff that's happening, the Tradition Club event, and then all the stuff Saturday, but the game against Warwick is huge. I know the players and coaching staff have had this one circled. It's tough to say that or pinpoint it. We try to tackle it in our preseason interviews, but so many big games happen each year when you're Wilson and playing in the LL League and have crossover games with Section 2, Powerhouse Manheim Central, and then the non-league schedule that Wilson has. It's tough to be like, well, this is the most important game, or this is the one I'm most looking forward to. And right. The coaches and players reflect that as they give us 4 or 5 different ones. But I know after last year, this one definitely has a little extra meaning to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year's game, it just got out of hand. We'll just put it that. It was one of those where, don't get me wrong, Warwick took it to us. There's no other way around that. But at the same time, like right before and right after, like half, it felt like Wilson had opportunities to kind of get back in the game or make it but whatever I wish would have happened obviously didn't, and Warwick was able to capitalize on all those repeatedly, and so it obviously did not go the way we wanted it to. But you know what? Now's the time where you have to focus. And I understand, that might be in the minds of some people, but at the same time, this is a completely different, Wilson team. It's a completely different Warwick team. Not complete. I understand there's a number of guys that are back, but it's a different year. So, we don't start down points this year because last year's game was lopsided. It's a fresh start. Right. It's a fresh start. And so, you got to go out and you got to put it all together. I think, being able to get back in the, get things going against Hempfield was a step in the right direction. Obviously, they're going to need to step it up even more this coming week. Because that Warwick, coming off the loss to Manheim Township, is going to be looking to get back and get right too. And that, not that they think, oh, it's going to be easy because we beat this team last year. They're not going to think that. But at the same time, they're not going to be intimidated either, because they know we can beat. They believe that they can beat this team based off of last year's results. So it's not going to be a pushover by any means. You're going to get their best shot. They've got a lot on the line too, as they're jockeying around there for positioning in the 5A field. It's a huge game on Friday.
Yeah, it is a huge game
for both teams. and give just to kind of loop around, give credit to Township. They handled their business again on Friday night and did so in another convincing fashion.
I think you can make an argument that I think sites are already making this argument, but when you consider all the talent that's out in the Pittsburgh area and the Philly area, that Manheim Township's a top 5 team in the state. Absolutely. Has the inside track, you would think, the talent to win the District 3 title, and then whatever the best from suburb via Philly, they only got to win one more and you're in the state title game. Right. So it presents for the District 3 winner, whoever it is, and Township has to be the favorite right now, just the way that they have played.
Right, based on the evidence we have available to us.
Right, well, they knocked off undefeated Cocalico. They knocked off us, undefeated at the time. They knocked off Warwick, undefeated.
In a row,
and now I believe they have Cedar Crest this week.
Right. So
whose only loss so far is to Warwick.
So if you do it, you're going to earn it.
Yeah,
and they have earned.
Well, and they're going to have to earn it in the playoffs too. Like there's going to be no.
Right, because they'll see some of these teams again in the playoffs. Because they also played Central Dauphin this year too. So when you look at the 6A potential playoff field, there's a lot of potential rematches that present themselves in there. Right. A lot of that has to do with the potential of 3 of the Section 1 teams being in that field. Yeah. So that's going to tilt it just a little bit to begin with.
Now, from the Warwick side, the positive for them is they don't have to see most of the teams they've played this year.
Correct.
A good amount of them, because they are a 5A team.
The teams they could see are teams they handled.
They already beat. Yeah, they beat up on Manheim Central. That's a team that they could see in 5A.
Right. They're not going to see Garden Spot.
No. So, the only possible rematch could be with Manheim Central, and they took care of business against the Barons back in week 3. So, they're coming off the loss to Township just like we were a week ago. They fell 28-7. It was at home last week. They hosted the Blue Streaks.
So just for the record, Manheim Township went to Cocalico, to Wilson,
and to
Warwick all in a row.
Yes, and won all.
And came out 3-0. That's tip of the cap there. Like I obviously I wish it didn't go that way, but
it
was impressive. We gotta call what it is.
Yeah. Call a spade, and that
Yeah. So, but with that Warwick, that kind of puts them in a spot coming into this week too.
Yeah, so they're mad because they suffered their first loss. They're confident because of what they were able to do against us last year. So it's going to be a huge game Friday night at Gurski Stadium. Warwick, again, like I said, entered the game last week at 6-0. They beat up on Ephrata, Garden Spot, Manheim Central, Hempfield, McCaskey. They obliterated them. Cedar Crest hung with them until they finally got to pull away and ended up winning by 20, 34-14. 2 weeks ago, it was the night that we hosted Township 5-0 versus 5-0, and Warwick hosted Cedar Crest 5-0 versus 5-0. And here we are, 6-1 versus 6-1. Huge game for the league at large. Huge game for power rating. So let's take a look at Warwick before we take a look at the power ratings. Now, Warwick is led by Bob Locker, who, believe it or not, is in his 19th season with the Warriors now. So he was the guy there when Andy Herr was in high school at Warwick.
Boy, Andy.
And, they have been struggling for a while. I think a lot of people are a little surprised that he was stuck around as long as he has. There were times when Warwick was one of the worst teams in the Lancaster-Lebanon League Section 1. It wasn't that long ago that was true. And then something clicked. They found some athletes. They found some talent. They found a system that works. And now they're part of the don't rebuild, just reload, because they've been in this position now for a few years.
D1 products.
We saw them give us a tough time, especially in Lidditz in 2012 and 2014. And then they started to look really good come 2016. Now, Wilson was able to come out on top in 16 and 17, but then last year happened.
Yep.
And now what's going to happen in 2019? Why is Warwick so dangerous this year? Well, they have pretty much the same offense as last year, and they're doing it without possibly their most dynamic player in Trey Glass, who's the one that beat up on Wilson's secondary last season. He suffered a knee injury, I believe, was it in.
It might have been week 2, I think.
No, I mean last year. Like
it was
he initially
it was in
injured
the
it.
district playoffs.
Was it? Oh yeah, you're right. It was in their
were they
playoff.
playing, like Cedar Cliff or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. He hurt his knee. He came back at the beginning of this year and went down for the season again. But they've had some guys step up in his absence. Justin Gerhardt, and specifically Caleb Schmitz and Connor Adams. They have been electric. They were leading the league in receptions and touchdown receptions for a while. And junior quarterback Joey McCracken is the one getting him the ball. We saw him start and play full time for the first time last year in our game in Lidditz, and he has not skipped a beat this season. Has been very, very good all around for the Warriors.
Heck of an athlete too. I believe this. Just a side note. I believe he won Player of the Year in the West Reading Summer Basketball League. Kid's a really good athlete, and can certainly throw it. We saw that last year.
Yeah. So, one Rucci's gone to play at Wisconsin, but the other one is still there.
He's just collecting D1 offers.
Only a junior, but yeah.
And will go wherever he wants. That's pretty much how that's going to work.
Yeah, he'll have the pick of the litter, that's for sure. He's going to play whatever Division I, Power 5 program he wants to. And, he's the real deal. So Warwick's going to set up their offense, at least their running offense around him. Wherever he lines up, expect to see them pound the rock there. And when they don't want to do that, or if it's not working, they're going to go to the air. And like I said, they've got at least 2 game-changing receivers, and they got a very strong running back too.
Right. So potent offensive attack does not really do it justice, I don't believe.
Now, I mean, last week they did have a tough time with Township, but we said Township this is quite the team.
In one way, you want to use that as the measuring stick because that's probably the best defense they faced. It is the best defense they faced. It's the best defense we faced. But at the same time, it's kind of tough to do that, in terms of trying to figure out how exactly that is going to work,
Right.
So it's not always that simple.
Yeah. So we will see what Warwick and Bob Locker's squad's able to do as they come to Gurski.
It should be a good game. Should be a really good game, and a lot of implications for both teams. So come on out to Gurski on Friday night.
Saturday night. Something I'm not prepared to answer, but I'm going to ask myself to find out. When was the last time Wilson lost to Warwick in back-to-back years? Has it ever happened?
Oh, and well, hopefully you only have to look it up as just for your own personal interest and not
because I got caught off guard with the Township stuff 2 weeks ago.
Right.
As Drago's asking me, hey, when was the last time this happened? Can you figure out when the year was? And Andy Hurd jumped on. He was the first one to see that. When was the last time Wilson lost a league home game? He's the one that pointed that out to me. I was like, whoa, I got to know this stuff. I got to figure it out. So. I know that one will be immediate if it comes up.
Useless footnotes. Because Wilson's going to handle it.
And they'll just float away and not matter in any way. So, that would be ideal. So, that's Warwick. The names to know, McCracken, Rucci, Gerhardt. Get ready. Yeah. They're going to bring some swagger and a passing game, and we'll see how Wilson's able to respond. Should the Bulldogs respond well, it sets up pretty well because I got an email from a listener and supporter saying, based on his calculations and the way the opponent winning percentage and strength of schedule stuff plays out, he believes that he thinks that even if Township goes undefeated, if Wilson goes 9-1, they may jump Township because of the OWP. Opponent winning percentage stuff, which I do not have the mathematical formulas.
I would love to find out if that, I would love to be in the situation to see if that actually happens.
That's a lot of math going on.
Oh, it's crazy. It is not a simple formula.
So here, let me pull it up here, and you can see where we sit at the moment. So this is 6A as of this evening. Now, I don't know if everyone has entered their stuff. It looks like they may have. Earlier today, they had not, but Harrisburg's in with their proper 6 because their one loss doesn't count. Same thing with Reading is at 6, and because one of their wins doesn't count. To me, looking at this is a 10-team race. I do not think Reading at 11 or anyone below that has any chance. So you have your top 8 as it stands right now: Manheim Township, Wilson, Central Dauphin, Central York, Cedar Crest, Harrisburg, Chambersburg, and Red Lion would be in if the playoffs started today. Wilson would host Chambersburg in the first round. The 2 teams on the bubble and sitting just outside are Lebanon and Cumberland Valley.
The tough thing there is, doesn't Cumberland Valley play State College the last week of the season at Beaver Stadium? But State College just beat Harrisburg this week,
right? So
and to move to 7-0. So like, they play Central Dauphin this week.
Yes.
So huge game.
Huge game. Really, really big matchup. But I was a little, honestly, was shocked that State College beat Harrisburg. I really was. I know it was at home. I know it was at State College, but I thought Harrisburg was better than this. I know that they had the travel early in the season. They lost that game to that powerhouse team from Ohio, and they had that rough game. Some people would say stolen from them against Central Dauphin a week previous, but I'm surprised that Harrisburg lost to State College.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, because if State College backs up that Harrisburg win with a win against Central Dauphin, like, okay,
we don't have to worry about them.
Right?
So,
yeah, exactly. Thankfully, you're not in.
That's
District
Western
3,
PA.
And you are in the Western
District
part
6, and that'll be that'll be North Allegheny, Pine Richland, or Pittsburgh Central Catholics problem.
Yeah,
so
good luck with that.
Hey, have fun with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you look at it, the rating overall, Township's at 0.824, Wilson's at 0.808, basically 0.809. So about 0.015 separates the teams. But according to this emailer, he thinks, based on these columns that I don't even know, I know one of them is opponent win percentage. That's what OWP is. But then I don't know what, like, I don't know if they go into like strength of schedule of said opponents. Like, I don't know if that's what those other columns mean. I know there's an explanation.
Right.
I don't want to get too technical or mathematical, but supposedly there's a chance, should Wilson win out, they could leapfrog Township despite losing to them head to head.
So my question would be, and I do not know that you are prepared to answer this question. Is opponent win percentage only of opponents you have faced so far, or is it of all your opponents that are listed there? So, for example, is it counting?
Right, because we haven't played
McCaskey
yet.
McCaskey. Right, but we haven't played Warwick and Cedar Crest, each who only have one loss as well. So, like,
true.
They even as the weeks go on, like, they would probably add, because they're going to be
right.
Yeah,
that's a great question.
I don't know.
I don't know
to account as a whole, because I feel like, well, I don't know.
I would honestly want to say it goes week by week, so I would say it's not currently counting.
Okay. So if it's not currently counting,
it's not counting Warwick, Cedar Crest, or McCaskey.
Right. So you have 2 goods and a not good.
You have a 6-1, a 6-1, and a 1-6.
Right.
Oh no, sorry, 0-7.
And Township has Cedar Crest this week,
6-1,
which is a good one. But then they have Hempfield left
the
last week, and I don't know who they have that second to last week.
Could be Penn Manor.
Yeah, I don't.
No, they already played Penn Manor.
Have they played McCaskey? I don't think they have.
So, but I mean, you can see, if you're watching this while we're talking about it, the OWP.
Does McCaskey have to end with Township and Wilson?
Yes.
Back to back.
The OWP column is the opponent winning percentage. You can see Wilson's is almost. It's a full 8 percentage, 0.08 here, but it's essentially 8% depending on where you're moving the decimals here. So it's basically 60.9% to 68.9% opponent winning percentage. And based on that, if it's the way we're saying it is, where it's only up to week 7 through week 7, Wilson's remaining opponents have a higher winning percentage than Township's.
Also, if that is true, it would be interesting, because you would start to have to look at non-common opponents, because the others are going to play themselves out. So you have Manheim Central versus Cocalico. Manheim Central only has, they have 2 losses.
They both have Central Dauphin.
But Cocalico has 2 losses, I guess. But Manheim Central beat Cacao. And that's where that does the opponent winning percentage.
So, well, and this is where I tell people all the time, I want to beat every Wilson opponent, obviously.
Right.
But if we're not playing them, we want those opponents to win. So the non-league opponents are key, which is why, other than the rivalry week, I want Mifflin to win every game they play because it only helps
Selfishly
Wilson.
speaking, it helps Wilson.
Nick Singleton rushing for 18 touchdowns the last 4 weeks is a good thing for the Bulldogs.
Right.
Because the more...
Because he didn't rush against
the team. It wasn't against us.
And we
61 to 14.
Every Mifflin win helps Wilson at this point. And unlike a few years ago, we're not going to face them again.
Right.
That's out of the question. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But then you look at Springford. That's the one, because Central Dauphin non-league game was, that's a team we both played. Township played them as well. So that one will equal out, you would imagine. But Springford would be one that's a different one. Dallastown not having a strong year.
Yeah, then that may be what's hurting them.
Right.
It was actually two. Their other two non-conference, their first 2 weeks are what's killing them right now.
East.
Central Dauphin East, who I believe is 2-5. Township won in week 1, 43-6, and Dallastown, who I think is either 2-5 or maybe 1-6.
Right. Well,
and they beat them up 56-7.
To kind of wrap this up from my take, we don't know how it will play out, and for all this to happen, Wilson needs to win out.
Right. You lose this Friday or next Friday.
None of it matters.
It doesn't matter. You throw it out the window.
You still pay attention to the power rankings, but this scenario doesn't play out. That would be, how do we say, interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine the discussion there? I mean, and it's laid out mathematically. It's not like voting. It's not like college football where they just vote.
Right. Well, this is BCS essentially.
Right.
That's what this amounts to.
Yeah,
this is the way this is. This is literally all computer. There's no human element here at all.
Big deal. Because what if that happened, and then let's just say district playoffs went chalk, which again, I don't know that would happen, but let's just say it did. Then the result would be, well, we know what the result would be. It would be the 1 seed gets to host throughout. Man, that would be a fascinating scenario.
Yeah, here, let me read.
And don't get me wrong. I don't know that it will happen. I want to see if it will happen. I want the opportunity to see if that will happen.
Just watch the world burn.
Yeah.
So this is the exact email quoted. I'm not going to mention who it's from, but the person says, I don't know if anyone looked into this, but if Wilson wins out, they will probably pass MT in the power rankings, even with MT going 10-0. 2 factors here. MT can't increase their TWP above 1, which is team winning percentage, and Wilson can still improve theirs with wins. So our team winning percentage goes up. Right now it's 0.906832, and Wilson keeps winning. That continues to rise. Obviously, it can't get to the even 1, the 100%, but it will continue to go up as Wilson continues to win because there's a weighted system in there. Because 6-1 is not as good as 9-1.
Right.
That's the way it works. Second reason is, here he actually laid this out. Second reason is Dallastown and CD East will lose at least 2 more games each, and Cocalico may lose to LS, Lampeter Strasbourg. Mifflin, Springford, and Manheim Central may all win out or at most might lose 2 games combined. Bottom line, if Wilson OWP, opponent win percentage, is 0.08 higher than MT, they will have a higher ranking than MT. Beat Warwick and it should happen. Now, again, I don't want to get technical, analytical, or mathematical on this show. And the program that does this is probably some massive file or a massive Excel file that calculates all this.
Right.
And I know that they can go in and force it themselves in the District 3 office because they do it the last weekend of the games. Because we know entering like Friday night when we get done from that last week when we play McCaskey.
Push for all those teams to get their results in so that they can publish, especially when
the rankings
sites were depending on it and teams need to know.
So he lays it on the line that Wilson wins out, they're the number 1 seed. Well, now, I cannot verify that.
Right.
I'm just going by this email. But I understand what he is saying. I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah. So, well, like I said, I obviously can't verify it either, but it would be interesting.
It sounds crazy to us because you're talking about a 9-1 team jumping an undefeated team, and that one loss is to said team. But you see it all the time. If you look down the power ratings, there's always teams with fewer wins above teams with more wins because of that strength of schedule, the opponent winning percentage. And, the emailer said it, and we just kind of backed it up. Looking at Wilson's non-league games versus Townships, they share Central Dauphin, so that cancels it out. Now you're looking at Manheim Central versus Calico, Mifflin versus Dallastown, and Springford versus CD East. And Wilson gets the benefit in all three cases.
Right. One thing I would say here is I don't know that LS beats Calico. That should be a good game, in my opinion. That'll be a heck of a game. But it will be interesting over the next few weeks to see if this plays out. And again,
take care of business this week, right, and we will find out.
If you don't take care of business,
it doesn't matter. That's it.
If you do, you put yourself in a position where it could be close. And hey, you know what? You never know what will happen.
Right.
But you got to handle your business, and hopefully they're ready to do that. I know they'll put in the work, they'll put in the preparation, and it'll be fun. It would be fun to see. It would be fun to see if that could happen.
And just to remind everyone, because we didn't say it tonight, and I'm not sure if we said it last week when we talked power ratings, but the District 3 playoffs are a full home field advantage event now. There is no trip to Hershey. Like, it wasn't that way last year. Like, we didn't go to Hershey. No one went to Hershey last year for the district playoffs. That was done. They kind of worked with neutral sites. It got weird because of the snow that happened in November. But this year, it's completely... The number one seed has that locked in unless they lose. And then it goes to the next highest remaining seed. So number one seed is guaranteed 3 home games as long as they keep winning.
Right.
So you would host the district championship, whoever is the highest remaining seed or the number one team.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so there's a lot on the line. And it all basically boils down to this game Friday night.
Yeah.
According to this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no matter what, you win Friday night, you're in control to be no worse than 2. Like, Central Dauphin's not jumping us.
No.
I wouldn't think, because they have 2 losses to our 1. I just don't think that even with their OWP higher than ours, it's only 0.03, not 0.08 like ours versus Township. Right. So I even if Central Dauphin wins out and goes 8-2, I don't think they jump us. So as long as we beat Warwick, Cedar Crest, McCaskey, I think we're no worse than 2.
Right. Yeah.
So there's always a lot to play for. Just because you don't think you can win a league title, and it looks like that's not going to happen because I don't see Township losing the last 3 weeks. There's been a Wilson team in the past that didn't win a league title but won a district title.
Right.
It happened in 1990, and that was one of Wilson's better teams. Right. They lost to McCaskey at home in the regular season, I believe, by 2 points. And then destroyed them in the district playoffs.
What was one of the things we said on last week's show was obviously the game against Township did not go the way we wanted it to, but if they handled their business long enough, for enough weeks, they'll get another shot at it, right? Like, we want to get to that point where we get another shot at it, because like you mentioned, even if that stuff doesn't work out and you don't end up as the 1 seed, if you end up getting in a position where you're the 2, it means you would get a chance to face them in the district title, most likely.
Right.
Obviously, if you're going to face them, it would be in the district title. Is a better way to phrase that. So you would love to get that opportunity again. So I like you said, it comes down to this week, because we'll worry about those last 2 weeks when we get to those weeks, but you have to handle your business this week for all of those things. If you want to stay at that 2 seed, if at worst, if you want to, in theory, still have a shot, if something crazy happens with Township, you never know. We don't think they're going to lose one of the remaining games, but you never really know.
You don't really know.
But, like, you can't worry about the other team. You can't worry about all that other stuff. You just have to go out and handle your business. And if Wilson goes out and handles their business on Friday night, then you hope for the best. And then, the rest will just kind of settle. You can't control that stuff, though. You can control how you go out and play on Friday night.
Take care of business. Get it done. Get to 7-1. Worry
Yeah.
about Cedar Crest and then McCaskey, and second season will be here, and then it's time to make a statement.
Yep.
All right, just quick reminder again. Game Friday, the 11th, at Gurski versus Warwick. Huge game. That night is also the Tradition Club event. We're welcoming back 5 title teams from 50, 40, 30, 20, and 10 years ago. And then Saturday, fundraiser for the program presented by the Wilson Football Tradition Club. The flag football alumni game kickoff is at 6 p.m. from Gurski. Tickets are on sale now. Physical tickets are at May's Sandwich Shop for $3 to $4, and then online at bulldoghour.com. And the post-game reception tickets are also available at those locations as well. So please come out. Please support the players that are helping us fundraise and coming back. There are people coming in from Hawaii, Arizona, Illinois, all over, Mid-Atlantic and Northeast Coast, Florida, just a whole bunch of places, Colorado. There are alumni coming in for this weekend, Friday, Saturday. So come out and show your support for them and the program. And it's going to be a blast. So we hope to see a lot of you there. Real quickly, we do want to mention it, although he wouldn't want us to. We're going to anyway. Coach Doms is up to 151 wins as head coach. That ties him with John Gurski for most wins in program history.
That's
crazy. So the next Bulldogs victory will put Coach Doug Doms all alone in the Wilson record book.
Yeah, so hopefully we can make that sooner rather than later.
And hopefully it happens this Friday. What a great event that would be for this huge alumni weekend. And you got to believe that when it does happen, no matter when it is, we will be talking to him, regardless of if a band is on the field. We will make sure to talk to him when that moment happens. So, anything else to say from you, Justin? Closing thoughts, reminders?
Just, like we said, we went through a bunch of scenarios. We had some fun with that. Obviously we don't know what's going to happen with any of that. There's still a lot of football games left to be played. While we joked about a lot have taken place already this year, essentially a third of the season is still of the regular season is left. So you got to take those 1 week at a time. I know that sounds cliche, but you have to go out and focus on this week. You have to focus on this week, and you have to get the job done this week. So it'll be fun. So hopefully we have some more great weather. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great.
It should be a great time on Friday night. So come on out, support the Bulldogs. It should be fun.
If you can't make it there, the school district will have their stream. I'll share that on the Facebook page. And WEU will have the radio coverage of Wilson versus Warwick. So Huge game, huge weekend. Hope to see you all there. For Justin Raffoff, I'm Joe Mays. And on behalf of the entire Wilson football program, thanks for listening. And remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.